Hello and welcome to Marketplace with Charles, brought to you by Art of Skincare, the company that brings out the beauty in you. I am Charles Ngobeni. On Marketplace, we aim to empower, encourage and equip you with the right tools needed to move closer to achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. Each week we bring you insight from experts in different fields of business, men and women of faith, and from ordinary people from all walks of life. Ms. Hlamalani Ngwenya is back with us in the studio today. She's an expert in the field of agriculture. She has traveled far and wide, sharing and receiving information to do with agriculture from other experts internationally. Beloved viewers, last week we discussed how the knowledge gap has left South Africa out of the cold, where opportunities in agriculture are concerned. We also introduced the concept of perfect opportunities in agriculture. My guest will today continue from where we left last week and enlighten us about these opportunities. Ms. Ngwenya, welcome back to Marketplace with Charles.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to the viewers.
Based on your experience, what are the opportunities that exist in the agricultural sector that remains untapped? Because there are those opportunities that people have already tapped into. Maybe it will be too late for that. But I want to believe there are also other opportunities which haven't been tapped. You know, like how we discussed on a previous episode, how I missed some of the opportunities, how I could go back and do agriculture the right way. Take us through those opportunities along your perfect concept.
Okay, thank you. Thank you again. Maybe just to quickly recap on what PERFECT stands for. That is policies, education, research, finance and farming, communications and technologies.
You missed one F. I remember very well.
Farming and finance.
Farming and finance.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we can, farming and finance.
Yes.
And when we talk about opportunities that remains untapped, I see that at various levels. Mainly, like we discussed last week, that a lot of people think of agriculture from the perspective of farming or maybe primary production. And they might look at, the value chains, which is still looking at primary production, but we add value. But they don't look at, these other functions like policies and the like. One other thing that I see that it's really, really left untapped, when you look at the South African economy,
yes,
it's very strong as compared to many other African countries.
Indeed.
And as a result, it actually makes people to be very inward looking. It's not natural for somebody to think outside the borders of South Africa. Whether it's from rural areas and the like, and that's where a lot of opportunities resides. So those opportunities remains untapped. As I've mentioned last time, we have funding opportunities. We have a lot of opportunities that people do not look out for. Yes.
Tell me, what are the gaps that you see where our youth lagging behind?
I think I'll also go back to that strong economy.
Yes.
I think for South Africa to have a strong economy, it's a positive thing. But like I said, that it actually makes a lot of people to be inward looking, because there's nothing that compels an ordinary South African to think outside the borders. For example, if you look at our universities, one can actually study here up until PhD level. But when you look at a lot of other African countries where the economy is not so strong and the like, and people are really forced to think outside the borders, and that makes them to become more open-minded. The other thing that I think is actually lagging, when we look at a lot of youth in South Africa, we also have this entitlement mentality that government is going to do that for me, somebody is going to do that for me. But this is not how entrepreneurs are born. People have to think, what am I going to contribute? And a lot of people also use their poverty as a way of saying, no, I can't do that because I'm poor. But that does not take anybody elsewhere. And when we look at the opportunity that I spoke about, people have to really think differently. You have to change your mentality, because that space is highly competitive. There is no affirmative action. There is nothing like, I'm previously disadvantaged.
Yes.
That language that just doesn't exist. You have to understand the issues. You have to really become a go-getter and really look for knowledge. And this information is there, readily available for free. So a person has to think, differently. You cannot negotiate from the position of weakness, because once you say I'm previously disadvantaged, then you are weak. Once you say that, you need affirmative action, then it really weakens you. So there are a lot of, opportunities are there, but people have to think differently. They have to change their mentality in order to tap into those opportunities.
There is a sense of entitlement from our own people. They think that the government has to do everything for them. The government can only do so far. But I think there must be, there is a need of change somehow. Do you want us to take us through that?
Yeah, I think what you are saying is very true. Like you said, that I travel a lot. When I compare, and I will generalize now, when I compare some of, the youth that we are working with in South Africa.
And I just hope by saying this, people are not throwing bricks at us.
No.
Messing up with their TVs, because they think they'll be throwing bricks at us, yet they're throwing bricks at their own TV.
Exactly.
Okay,
no, when I compare, that entitlement mentality, when you compare some of the youth that we work with that attitude, and some of the youth that are coming from other African countries where the governments don't have that money to actually support.
Not even a support at all.
The innovations that go there, it's so amazing. So when I talk about the entitlement mentality, and unfortunately, if a young person in South Africa needs to tap into that space outside the borders of South Africa, that has to fall. Entitlement mentality must fall. I could actually use that because that space is highly competitive. If you have to work or maybe grab of an opportunity that is at the SADC level, for example, or Africa-wide or global, entitlement doesn't work. What you need to do is to be able to understand how the sector works. You understand the regional issues, and that puts you in a better position. But you cannot negotiate from the position of I'm coming from a previously disadvantaged background and the like. That language just doesn't work. I do a lot of mentoring and coaching. The people that I mentor, the first thing I tell them, the language of previously disadvantaged does not work. And once they change their attitude, it's amazing what opportunities they see. And they begin to hustle, they begin to get information, empower themselves so that they can actually grab those opportunities that are existing.
Viewers out there, if you want to learn more about taking charge of your life and do something out of what you have, you can be from a rural area, you can be born in poverty-stricken family, but your life can be changed. I have documented my life story in my book, which I call Footprints of a Legend. I guarantee you read Footprints of a Legend, your life will never be the same again. But Ms. Ngwenya, how ready is the global community? How ready it is to assist our youth, to assist our young communities, especially the disadvantaged communities, as far as funding is concerned?
That is very interesting. The global community is very ready. We see that with concepts like, okay, let me put it this way. Africa, for example, is predominantly rural.
Yeah,
and we know that the agricultural sector, or agriculture, is a backbone, either for food security, but also economic development and the like. So they have coined, concepts like agriculture for development, which means they use agriculture as a developmental path. We also have things like research for development, and that is one way of actually embracing or showing the readiness on how to actually bring the people from the previously disadvantaged communities to really come to the agricultural sector, but also move from subsistence, move from just production for home consumptions, but really bringing them to a platform or a space where they can be able to generate income. And globally, like I said, that I work in the agricultural sector globally, there is a lot of innovation. From the research aspect, there is a lot of innovation, also funding. I've just seen with one of the platforms where I receive information, there is an organization called IFAD, that is an International Fund for Agricultural Development. They've just launched funding for smallholder agriculture. So they provide funding on how to bring the smallholder sector up into the market. And you also look at the different organizations. We will need another episode or maybe another program 3 or 4 times to really unpack what is happening. Every organization has a focus on youth. They also focus on the disadvantaged youth because these are the people that are getting information. Another one that I can actually share quickly, there is a Global Forum for Rural Advisory Services. Every year they have their annual meeting. This year, the theme is youth in agriculture. You have other organizations where they are specializing in ICTs and they focus on youth. So there are a lot of opportunities out there and people need to be aware and brace themselves and change the attitude and really grab those opportunities.
Opportunities, it's a lot.
Yes.
And in fact, if you look at Africa, it's, if I were to put it in a way, it's evergreen. It's a perfect place for agriculture. You go to places like agriculture. You go to, places like Russia. You go to places like Israel, where 1/3 of the country is a desert. There's no space for agriculture.
That's true.
Many countries all over the world, it's desert. And yet Africa is perfect for agriculture. And in fact, at one stage, you remember that Zimbabwe, our neighbor here, were considered the breadbasket of Africa.
Exactly.
And it was not supposed to be the breadbasket of Africa.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned, it was a breadbasket of the world.
Yes.
Because they were importing this stuff to the whole world. I went to America the other time. I was shocked. I got tomatoes from Limpopo, bananas, sugar cane from Mpumalanga. All these things were exported, and people are consuming our stuff. Maybe that's the reason why the whole world is looking at Africa and they are ready to assist and fund, because they know we've got a fertile soil, we are the right ground. Viewers out there, thank you for staying with us. We'll be back with my guest, Ms. Hlamalani Ngwenya, talking about the perfect opportunities in agriculture. Welcome back to Marketplace with Charles. I am here with my guest, Ms. Hlamalani Ngwenya, talking about the perfect opportunities on agriculture. Ms. Ngwenya has traveled extensively all over the world. She has networked with many people. She has got knowledge, vast knowledge. She's resourceful, and all these things has made her to be who she is today. Ms. Ngwenya, we're talking about the funding. What kind of assistance is available for the young people other than what we have discussed?
Well, there are a lot of funding opportunities. For example, it depends on what a person is interested in. When you look at My Perfect Continuum,
yes,
the policy space, you have research, you have, you have education, you have communications, and there are issues of trade. The F, remember I said it's also called, I put it, while we have the F for farming, but we also have F as finance.
Finance, yes.
The funding for agriculture is very organized. I've shared with the listeners last week that there is a global donor platform where you have big donor agencies that are financing agriculture. You have a lot of private sector also that shows an interest in the agricultural sector, like your Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But there are also other funding agencies. But how actually it works, each and every donor will have a certain component that they are interested in.
Yes.
For example, the Swiss will be very much interested on the post-harvest loss-related issues. And then, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is really interested in the issues of, nutrition and, agriculture and the like. So it's a matter of one really going through their websites and see what kind of opportunities are there. And every time there is a call for proposals, depending on what people are financing. And what I find interesting is that sometimes we look at, these global donors and whatever, and you look at, they have to find, big organizations and stuff. But sometimes there are funding opportunities for individuals.
Yes, yes.
Not for organizations, as an individual. And also there is every time there is a platform that I've subscribed for and where I get a lot of information. Sometimes, they have like funding opportunities for study, purposes. So there are a lot of, different aspects of this funding. And all what our young people need to know is to be aware of this information, take it, and actually write proposals. And with proposals, again, the language that they have to use, it's very different. You can't say I'm previously disadvantaged.
Yes.
The language, you have to understand the global issues. At the moment, globally, we talk about climate-smart agriculture. We're talking about agricultural innovation systems. And if you don't know those concepts, this is what people want to see in your proposal. So a person needs to be aware of what is trending now and how you can actually better position yourself for this.
This could be challenging. It might look complicated.
Yep.
But I think we need you more than you need us. What can you put on the table? What can Ms. Hlamalani Ngwenya put on the table to assist the viewers out there through your experience, your knowledge, and your contacts?
Actually, it's not even complicated. Once you're in the system, I do a lot of mentoring and coaching.
Yes.
And this perfect, for me, is a campaign, the perfect opportunity where you're bridging the knowledge gap. So this is something that I do passionately about. And we have success cases where some of my mentees, they go to, like now there's one who's going to Brazil. Some of my mentees, they go to, because they become aware of these opportunities.
So you take these people outside the country to go and learn these skills as well?
No, sometimes I don't take them by myself because I know the opportunity that is there and I know what they need in order to tap into those opportunities.
Then you hope
so I do a lot of, first of all, I share with them this knowledge. Then I also support them in terms of how to write a proposal that is convincing.
Brilliant.
So I have a lot of, mentees where we have, these success cases. And sometimes it could be an opportunity where there is a competition, for example. Then I share that information. I review their proposals because it has to be of an international standard. Otherwise, then it doesn't work. And I do that a lot. But also I do a lot of facilitation. That is not only for young people, for organization, strategic planning, meetings and stuff. And I use a lot of knowledge that I'm bringing globally to really see how we can actually help our organization to be there. Like I said, I teach as well. So every little moment that I get, I share this information because I think knowledge is power. And our young people, they need knowledge in order for them to make it out there.
Viewers out there, as you have heard, Ms. Hlamalani Ngwenya is there to assist and always available. Stay tuned on Marketplace. We'll be back shortly. Welcome back to Marketplace with Charles. My guest today is Ms. Hlamalani Ngwenya, and we are talking about the perfect opportunity in agriculture. Perfect as in acronym. Ms. Hlamalani, tell me, is there any minimum educational background that one needs to have in order to be successful, in order to be part of what you are doing, or in order to be part of your world, which is agriculture?
Again, it depends on what people are interested in. Surely if you want to explore the research component, definitely there is a minimum, education background that you need to have, because you cannot engage in research when you are not following the academia. But also there are issues of ICTs, for example, information and communication technology. All what a person needs is creativity. You need to be creative. You don't necessarily have to have a degree sometimes, but you need a lot of creativity. I also work with people who are talented. I grab young people who has a little bit of talent in theater, and we use that. We train them on how to communicate, science. For example, you have researchers. I get involved a lot with climate change, related project, where you have researchers who are generating information around climate change, but they fail to communicate it to a different, audience.
Yes.
And I bring, young people. They don't necessarily have to have, a high qualification as long as they have a passion. So there is a wide range of things. Surely education, it's needed, but also passion, also, a creativity and innovation. So it depends on what a person is interested in, and one can actually be supported looking at the passion.
So the way if I understand you very well, is that education is important. And there's a saying out there, people, especially young people, give you example of the very successful people who haven't been to school. And sometimes I beg to differ. Because if you look at those successful people, they might have not gone through the formal education,
exactly,
but they read every day. They are self-taught. In fact, who said to be educated, you need to sit in a classroom? You know.
Yeah.
But having said that, you also say that there's an opportunity for everyone, whether educated or not educated. There is a place for every South African, for every African out there. And I also realize that you have engaged with more than 10,000 people all over the world, including the youth from different countries, different places. But you haven't said much about our rural area. Is there a chance for someone from a rural South Africa or rural Africa?
Yes. Actually, you know, when you look at the whole notion of agriculture, it's very interesting. When you look at South Africa and other African countries, in South Africa, yes, we have a dual system where you have a very strong commercial agricultural sector, and the majority of the people who are in the agricultural sector who are coming from, you know, small or smallholder and the like. And when you look at other African countries, many countries do not have a strong commercial sector like we have. And as a result, there is a lot of innovation. So there is a lot of, you know, innovation that is actually targeting that audience. So there is a lot that we can also learn from what other African countries are doing in the agricultural sector, which we can actually bring to South Africa to benefit our rural should I say, people in the rural areas. But also with these opportunities, I've mentioned that I do a lot of mentoring and coaching. Last year, we had an opportunity where we got one young man from one rural area somewhere in Malamulele. And it was through this knowledge sharing where he actually got to know this opportunity. We went with him. I was with him in Cameroon last year.
I think I saw that on your Facebook.
Yes. So this young man, he's coming from, under no circumstances, this man would have actually got this opportunity. I also have one of my mentees as well. I met him, he's coming from one of the rural areas somewhere in Limpopo. The whole of last year, he spent the year in Addis Ababa doing a volunteer program. And he got to know about that opportunity through my interaction with him. And I continue to mentor him. He comes and said, no, I didn't know that, you know, this can actually happen to me. He goes there for the whole year. He's working with the African Union. They have a volunteer program for young people. But if our young people do not know, only other people from other African countries get to know these opportunities. So yes, there are opportunities, and we see how we groom our young people to actually tap into this. You know,
when it starts getting yummy, when it's so exciting, you know, it looks like time is just flying. In a second, how can viewers get hold of you?
Okay, I'm on Twitter.
If they need assistance.
Yeah, they can actually follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Ngwenya, which is very simple. And once they follow me on Twitter, they can actually inbox me, and we can actually take it from there.
Thank you very much for sharing your wealth of experience with our viewers on Marketplace. I hope viewers out there, you have been impacted. You enjoy the show. Unfortunately, it has to come to an end. But remember, you can get in touch with me on charlesngobeni.com, or you can follow me on Instagram, Charles_Ngobeni. If you want to, you can also like me on Facebook, Charles Ngobeni. That brings to an end of yet another informative show on Marketplace with Charles. See you next time, same place, and God bless you.